Something about the new year just makes me want to refresh all my long-term spells and workings. Almost like a magical spring cleaning. And since I've been meaning to upgrade my money bowl to this big old chonker of a vessel here for a while now, I thought that this might be the perfect time to take you all along with me. Consider this a part 2 to my how to make a money bowl video, which will be linked above. We're going to be prepping the new vessel, cleansing all my items from my last bowl, giving it all a fresh purpose, burning my offerings to create a new base for the bowl, and then migrating everything over. So without further ado, grab your note-taking implements of choice, or perhaps join me with your own money bowl. Get a tasty snack or a cozy beverage if you're just here to watch, and let's get to it. Voiceover Panthera taking over here. So I started off by taking apart my old money bowl. And oh my gosh, guys, I haven't touched this in a very long time. It was dusty. I think I had used it as a storage container for a little bit. I have a lot of really old kind of affirmations and just like little manifestation notes that I've had for a while. You can see some of them here. A lot of them were from previous spells that I have done or were oracle card sayings that myself or my friends have pulled for me. And I'm actually going to save these and I'm going to use them to make a kind of offering powder later, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I also save a lot of old checks in my money bowl. I use these as offerings as well, kind of like you would paper money or coins, and I do like to add these with my affirmations and eventually burn them, so we'll be getting to that. But here I am just cleaning up all of the runes. More old sigils and things, crystals. There's so much packed into this little tiny bowl. Can you tell why I really needed a clean out? Why my finances might be feeling a little stagnant and dusty right now? I couldn't even bother going through all of these coins. It's just too much right now. So now I'm prepping my stuff for the new bowl. I found my little cauldron, my little copper cauldron. I thought this would be a perfect little centerpiece inside of my big green vessel. We're gonna need a mortar and pestle and a safe place to burn. So I'm gonna use a little cast iron cauldron here, and of course, is it a spell if you're familiar isn't bothering you in the middle of it? Luna, I love you, but you are always in the way. I also grabbed a little fire safe. This is a kind of resin coated piece of petrified wood, so it is fire safe and heat safe. So I like to set my cauldron on that to kind of protect my desk that I built. This is my homemade desk that I made that I'm really happy to be using. And now we start the fun part. So I'm starting off here by just burning the old cinnamon that was in the bowl. But we have a lot of paper, we have a lot of old herbs and stuff. And at this point in the spell, I wasn't really super sure how many of them I wanted to burn and how many I wanted to just grind up to be in this kind of offering incense almost that I was making. But essentially what we're doing is kind of carrying over these old offerings in a new form. And I thought that this was a really cool and fun way to reuse old pieces of my money bowl, and I really enjoyed creating this. My room does get fairly smoky during this process, just as a heads up, especially once I start burning the bay leaves. They get smoky. So make sure you do this in a nice ventilated space. I had a window right in front of me that was open, but make sure your air purifier is on. Make sure your doors are open, windows are open, whatever you can. I would not recommend doing this in a room with a fire alarm. And I am using a little homemade money tea light that I made as my kind of starting point for burning these checks and affirmations and manifestations. And the goal here is we're basically going to combine a bunch of herbs as well as these ashes from these burnt offerings into a powder that I'll be able to add to my future money bowl as an offering, or to just kind of like awaken the spirit itself of the money bowl, or to do deity offerings with. So it's going to be a combination of these ashes, herbs, whatever you can kind of add to a powder, what you might add to a powder. If you're going to burn it, I wouldn't recommend things like glitter, but a little bit of bank dirt might be a nice touch. You know, you can kind of do whatever you want here. Just depends on what you're going to be using it for. If it's just going to be a base, try to keep it to materials that are going to be safe for laying things upon. And if it's going to be burnt, make sure it's materials that are safe to be burnt. I think it's helpful too to have some way to put out fires if you are going to be doing things like this. As you can see, sometimes the flames do get pretty large and the cauldron is getting very, very hot. So make sure the lid is handy. Make sure you have some water handy. I have some water that's slightly off screen here, or some way to dampen the fire when needed, because you want to do this safely. If you're going to be doing a little mini bonfire in your house, make sure you have the tools there to make it a safe process for you, your family, your animals, whoever else might be sharing your home with you, right? Practice safe witchcraft, y'all. And how cool is this little lighter that I have now? I love these little electric plasma lighters. I just think they're so cool. So now, giving myself a little break from the smokiness of the room, we're moving over to the mortar and pestle portion. So we're starting off with the cinnamon, and oh my gosh, it smelled so good, guys, when I was doing this. It was kind of difficult with the little teeny mortar and pestle that I had, and you can see that it was a messy process as well. But all good witchcraft is messy, and you'll probably hear me say that a lot during this spell because it was messy. So next off, I have some tea here actually that I was using as a little quick grab herb. I thought that these were kind of fun. I've never really utilized these particular teas before, but green tea, jade tea, mint tea, all of these have a lot of correspondences with abundance and prosperity. So I was like, why not? This blend was starting to smell so, so good. I actually think I'm going to remake this without the ashes at some point as a actual money incense, because I was adding them to the jar. I just loved how it looked. I loved how it smelled. It was amazing. I'm including a little piece of moss from my Etsy shop because these are the little fake moss that I use when I take photos of my crystals. And it's just, I associate it with my physical shop and my income. So I thought it was good to include in my little money blend. I've also got rosemary. It's one of my personal herbal allies. I love rosemary. It's protective. It's comforting. It's something I use in almost all of my spell work. So it's a rare spell when I won't have it here on the channel. Next up, some chamomile. A little calming, also associated with abundance. Pretty much anything like green or gold can be technically correspondent with prosperity and abundance, but I think that chamomile looks like little gold pellets, which is why I really liked them. And I'm grabbing some old ones here. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. This isn't going to be eaten, so, we can use the dusty old ones. It'll be fine. Waste not, want not. Once we get that all mashed up, add it to our blend, and I'm just thoroughly mixing between each of these as well. Oh, I just love how it looks. It's so fun. Next up, we're doing some peppermint. This is peppermint from an old blend that I have from a little local shop. I'm just kind of infusing the energy that I want it to bring into the spell. A little refreshment. We've got basil as well too. The basil was already pretty ground, so I didn't think it needed much. And then I added a little bit of rice into the blend. I wasn't sure how it was going to work with this offering kind of powder, but I wanted to experiment. It ended up not mashing up very well in this particular mortar and pestle. I think that this one was a little too smooth to really grind up the rice pellets, but we tried. It's an experiment. Witchcraft is an experiment, right? You're always trying new things, seeing what will work, but you will see a lot more rice later on. Okay, now we're gonna add, this is the really messy part, our ashes. So I kind of sift through and I take out the big pieces that weren't fully burnt, and those I'll burn again in the future and maybe just take them outside as a little offering to my land spirits. But for now, we're just taking the little bits, really grinding them up finely and mixing them in with our powder, and now our kind of money incense powder is complete. So let's go to decorating our actual bowl. We're gonna start off with some cleansing here, getting my little money tea light going again. And then these are rosemary bundles that I actually sell in my shop. Once again, I love rosemary. It's so helpful for so many different things. And we're just giving everything here just a really, really good solid cleanse, especially all my crystals and things that I've had in my little copper cauldron. I've used it on a few different altars in the past, which you might see in my altar decoration playlist. But all these crystals, they were kind of neglected a little bit at the end of my money bowl's lifespan, my old money bowl. But then also here, I'm taking some moon water and just really dusting down this new vessel. And I do it with the copper cauldron as well, but physical cleaning is just as important as spiritual cleaning. So make sure whether you use a magical item with this, whether it's moon water like I did, or you could use Florida water too, it's important to make sure your space isn't dusty, isn't dirty. You know, you want it to be spiritually as well as physically cleansed. And now I'm kind of going through and deciding which crystals I wanted to include in this new money bowl. And I'll have them pop up on the screen here, but I love blue goldstone. Moss agate is a go-to as well. I have so much moss agate in my room. Malachite, fantastic stone. Pyrite is my personal favorite when it comes to money magic, so you'll see a lot of pyrite here. Look at this cute little cube on the side of this one. Serpentine is a newer one I've been adding, but green aventurine is always a go-to. A lot of these I'll go through in my old money bowl video too, if you haven't seen that yet. And I have some little guys as well. Tiger's Eye, one of my favorite crystal allies. And some shells. The shells were a newer addition to my old money bowl, and I loved the addition of the water element. I feel like with the other elements, I have an easier time including them in money bowls, but water's always a hard one for me. But shells, I also think they're just inherently lucky. And now, my favorite, my prosperity oil. I make these oils and sell them in my Etsy shop if you're interested, but I love my prosperity oil so much, and I was not going to make a new money bowl without anointing it with my oil. And here I'm just doing some money signs as a quick, simple sigil. And now I've got some money incense, and once again, I'm kind of going through each thing, and I'm not cleansing necessarily here because this is a money incense. I am more infusing it into all of my items that I will be including to kind of wake them up a little bit and tell them what they're going to be doing. Tell them what to focus on, you know? And now for our main base. Here is where the rice comes in. I love this jar that I found that I'm going to be using for rice from now on. But I thought that this would make a really good kind of surrounding to hold this copper in its place. And I wanted to use the copper cauldron in the center as a safe place to burn like candles and things, or maybe incense, like charcoal discs. And now the fun part, we're just arranging everything that we want there. You can do a crystal grid if you want. You can align with north, south, east, west, kind of whatever you're feeling. I like symmetry. I did decide to swap out some crystals for goldstone here. But really, it's whatever you want it to be. Don't overthink it too much. You can look at my old money bowl playlist or video if you want to get some more ideas for your own personal bowl. But with this one, I was mostly just wanting it to be a little more simple, a little more clean, easier to actually work spells in, thus the inclusion of this cauldron in the center. And I did want something to hold up candles in the middle, so I did grab some money rice that I had made. This is like gold rice and like glitter. And now we're gonna kick it off. We're gonna awaken our money bowl with a little spell, some candle magic here, more prosperity oil, a nice green candle with some sigils inscribed. And we're using our first use of this offering powder. We're dressing our candle. And this is, once again, to just kind of like awaken the spirit of our money bowl. And there we are. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me as I crafted my new money bowl. I just love the new vessel, and I can't wait to work with it some more in the coming weeks. If you liked this video, you'll probably love my spell work playlist. It's where I walk you through a few different spells just like this one, and it's a great way to get some new ideas, tips, and tricks for your personal practice. So take what you love, but make it your own, for the path of a witch is uniquely grown. And until I see you next time, stay wild, my friends. Bye!